That's weird.
Technology is weird.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing out there tonight? If you could hear me, please give me a thumbs up. We'll get started here with the brief here in a few minutes. I see we've got some viewers starting to tune in. If you can hear me clearly, please give me a thumbs up. Nice, nice. Okay, thanks, Liz. Thanks, Helen. Appreciate that, Chris. As I said, we'll get started here in a few minutes. If you don't mind, go ahead and chime in and leave a comment. Let me know where you're from. Okay, Karen from Dallas. How's it going? See North Carolina. Okay, Far West region. It's California. Marion, welcome. Welcome to the briefing. Fort Knox, Kentucky. Nice. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and get started with the briefing. My name is Captain Marvin Green. I'm going to be your host for this evening. Welcome to the West Point Admissions Informational Briefing. I'm joined today by Cadet John Mays. He's a freshman here at the Academy, so he's going to come up here in a few minutes to share his West Point experience with you and talk to you a little bit about the opportunities that West Point has to offer. I also have Jermaine Clark. He's our social media guy here for the Academy. He's monitoring the chat, so if there's anything that I don't get to question-wise, he'll be able to answer that for us. And I also have First Lieutenant Alex Porter joining us, one of my outreach officers who will also assist in answering some of those questions for us. So again, thanks for joining us. Got a lot of great information to put out for you. So if you have any questions about anything that we go over, or if you want us to tackle a specific topic, please leave that in the comment section. And with that, I'll get Cadet Mays up here for you all.
Thank you, sir. Hi, guys. My name is John Mays. I'm from Stillwater, Oklahoma, and I am a plebe here at the Academy. I'm just going to go through slides with you guys. If you have any questions for me, just leave them in the chat, and I'll answer them as we go through here. So, I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but the mission of West Point is to develop leaders of character and produce second lieutenants for the Army. So what West Point's about, so you got to think about why you want to come to West Point. A lot of it is service oriented. So you're going to be serving for 5 years. So if you want to serve, this is a good way to do it. But you have to want to serve to come here. Service is a big part of it. So you're going to be challenged academically, mentally, and physically. I promise you. No matter who you are, where you're from, you'll be challenged in all three of these pillars. And the goal is, again, to produce you, to make you a better leader of character. You'll be challenged day in and day out here. All right, so why West Point? So the slide has a couple reasons why. First off, it's free. So, I mean, it's a pretty big reason, I think. You'll get a bachelor's of science. So obviously tuition, books and fees, room and board, all that is covered. And plus, you get a monthly stipend. So as a plebe, I get $200 a month, and that goes up I think close to $600 as a firstie. So it goes up every year. So it's pretty good. So what does it offer? Obviously, your Princeton ranks is pretty high in a lot of things. I want to kind of touch on the most accessible professors. The faculty here is amazing. They really care about you excelling. There's this thing called additional instruction, or AI. If you are struggling in a class, you can email your instructor, and they get back to you like within the hour. It's awesome, and you sit down, you one-on-one with them. You get a lot out of it. Also, we have the best college library according to Princeton. It's got you covered, everything you need. So obviously you'll get a job once you leave here. You'll be a second lieutenant, so it's 100% job placement. You'll have a job, so it's pretty good. I don't think any other college can say that. So it's branch opportunities. So you get to have a preference on what branch you want to go, and they're changing the way they decide that. But basically, if you do well enough, you should be able to get the branch you want. There's an interview. And all that. So here's all the branches you can go. You can't just branch special forces, but there are ways for you to do that. My last TAC officer was a Green Beret, and he graduated, I think, in the early 2010s. So there's a way. If there's a will, there's a way for sure. And after you branch, you'll post, and there's this big night when you're senior called post night, and that is strictly order merit list. So where your class rank is where you'll post. So let's say you post infantry and you are number 1 in your class. You can post wherever it is. There's a bunch of posts on the wall. Usually Italy goes out first. Germany's up there, Hawaii as well. So that's why you want to do well on the OML, order merit list. So for history, this place is covered in history. There's so much history all around. I'm a military history major, so that's kind of my jam. So West Point was obviously it was a fort during the American Revolution. There's little forts all around here. It's just covered in history. It's the first military academy, and obviously it was a model for Naval Academy. They didn't do so well, and then also for the United States Air Force Academy. So keep that in mind. And then the Thayer method is it's kind of how things are taught here. You teach yourself the content, and then you go to class with questions. The teacher teaches you, obviously, but a lot of learning is placed on you. And if you want to learn, your teacher will help you do that. The legacy of West Point. So obviously you can see some of the people on the slide who have graduated from here. Let's see, we've had 2 presidents. Navy's only had 1. I think we've had around 18 astronauts. And numerous successful businessmen. But yeah, you get the point. You'll be set up for success here. So these are the 4 pillars that West Point talks about a lot: academic, physical, military, and character. And I talked a little bit about this, but you'll be challenged in all of these aspects to do better. Again, no matter who you are, you'll be challenged. So cadet life. So, plebe is a freshman here at West Point. I'm a freshman. So your freshman year, you're a private. You're learning how to follow. You're not leading anybody. You're learning how to take care of yourself. You get oriented into the military way of life. And then once you graduate from being a plebe, which is hopefully soon for me, you get more responsibility. So as a yearling or a sophomore, you're in charge of 1 plebe. So now you have a leadership role. You're not just taking care of yourself, you're taking care of somebody else. You're responsible for that person. Obviously, as a cow, it just expands even more to a squad leader. You can be a first sergeant. And then firstie seniors are the leaders of the Corps. Your first captain, your platoon leader, your company commander. So as you grow here, as you rise through the ranks in your class, your responsibility expands. So this is a typical day. It's going to vary from cadet to cadet. So 5:20, yeah, I get up at around 6. Some mornings I get up at 5:20 to go work out, and then class and study time is most of the day, and then after that, obviously you have athletics, and every cadet and athlete, I'm sure you guys have heard that, Every cadet is required to do some sort of athletic sport here, whether it's D1 or company athletics. So last semester I did company soccer, and this semester I did company orienteering. And there's a lot of things you can do. There's frisbee, there's handball, there's a lot of club sports you can do as well. So that's that. And then after that, the day's kind of yours. You're going to be doing a lot of studying. We have ESP, evening study period, where you're required to be doing homework. Your door has to be open, and that ends at 23:30, and then your lights have to go out after that. You can keep working, but usually I go to bed around midnight to 1, and I wake up around 6:30. So it's a full day. You're gonna be challenged every day. Oh, I'll go back to that slide. We have a mandatory spirit dinner every Thursday, and the plebes have to, they have to go in their issued gear. They can wear anything they want, so it just has to be issued. So you can wear your white top with your body armor and your helmet. It's just like a big spirit dinner, so it's a lot of fun. So here's one of the best parts about West Point. My largest class, I think, was 18 people. And before I came on this brief, I asked some of my buddies how big their classes were, and it was like anywhere from the range of 250 to 500 people for online classes. It's not like that here. The classes are small, which enables you to have more one-on-one time with your instructor, which is a really, really big thing. Again, all the faculty here are amazing. They care about your success. You got to put in the work, but they will work with you on that. We have a lot of Rhodes Scholars, a lot of scholarships here, so a lot of scholarship opportunities. So again, if you're willing to put in the work, you can get the results out. So here are all the majors. You guys can read them again. I'm a military history major. There are a lot of minors as well. There's a counterterrorism minor, grand strategy minor. That's just a couple of them. But obviously I think there's something here for everybody. So this is what a typical schedule looks like for your 4 years here. So obviously your plebe year, you'll be taking your core classes, your required classes, plebe boxing. I just got done with that. Physics, math, your history, both your English classes, you'll knock out your plebe year. And as you go forward as a yearling, you can see you start to slip in your major. You decide your major as a plebe, and then as you go on, as you can see, you'll take less and less core classes and more your major classes. In this schedule, you'll have some semesters where you'll have more classes. Right now I have 19.5 credit hours, which is a lot more than a normal college would be. And there are also opportunities. I don't know if they're doing it this year, but I got to take 2 FIRST classes this year for history of the military art, because history was my intended major, and it is. So there's a lot of flexibility. You can also validate some classes, which will enable you to take major classes sooner. So it's good.
You have any questions?
So do you have any questions? Okay, so sports. Again, every cadet and athlete, there's a place for you here. So I'll just say, in high school, I was in the band. I was a drum major, so I wasn't like a stellar athlete. I did soccer and cross country, but I wasn't a D1 player. But there's still a place for you here, and you have to do a sport, but you'll find something you can do. So here's just a list of some of our sports for D1. And I believe the next slide here is club sports. Say boxing, a friend who does boxing, climbing, so handball. I know everybody who does handball. So obviously there are a lot of opportunities for you, physically wise. All right, this is my favorite part is the military journey here at West Point. So obviously you come in as a plebe and do cadet basic training. I see someone just asked about chess club. You can make your club. If it's not here, you can make it. It's pretty simple. So I think there might be a chess club. I'm not too sure. I think there is. But you can make your club. There's a place for you for everybody. Okay, so cadet basic training. You go in. That's just you get oriented again into the military lifestyle. You're You're doing, I think half of it is here at post and garrison, then half of it you go out to the field, you learn your military skills, but you're just learning how to be in the military. And then your next summer is cadet field training. That's what I'm going. That's what I'm going to go do this summer, and that's like the cool stuff. I get to shoot artillery. There's a tank simulator you get to do. You're out in the field, doing all the military stuff. So that's really awesome. And then again, as you get older, there's more opportunities. So I'll just say cadet troop leader training (CTLT). You go and you shadow a second lieutenant in an actual unit. That's pretty cool. I think for 2 weeks. So you also become cadre at cadet basic training, cadet field training, SOE. So you'll be leading those events, as a cow in a first seat. I want to also say the IADs and MIADs. So IADs are like, you can go. It kind of goes along with this next slide, but you can do like a semester abroad in Brazil, China, France. It's just awesome countries. You can also do a semester at other service academies, Army, Navy, or Navy, Air Force. That's something I'm interested in doing. But during the summer, you can do an IAD or a MIAD. And an IAD is, a history club, for example, is doing a Civil War IAD, where you go through, I think it's the Overland Campaign. So you'll be around, go through all the battlefields for that. And there's IADs for every major here. There's also the White House. You can go to the White House, work an internship with the FBI. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Just a lot of things you can do here. MIADs, so airborne, air assault, SEER school, I believe, combat dive. Those are all things you can do as a cadet. So after cadet field training, actually, I'm going to air assault school. And I will say, air assault school in any MIAD really is harder to do as an ROTC program than it is at West Point. I think you'll be hard pressed to find an ROTC cadet who's able to go to air assault or even airborne during the summer. But it's really, really easy here at West Point to do that. So yeah, that's about all I have. I'll look at. I'm not sure we have any questions that haven't been answered, but yeah, thanks for giving me your time. I hope you guys choose Army.
All right, before I let you get out of here and escape from the camera, I had a quick question for you, just to put you on the spot just a little bit.
Sir.
What was the most difficult aspect of Beast for you?
Okay. I have to think about that. Beast was challenging for me. I kind of came into West Point thinking I was, the top, it's the top fish back where I was from. My resume was, it was as good as anyone else's here, an Eagle Scout and all that. But I was launched into a place where everybody's an Eagle Scout, and everybody was, the top in their school. So learning that you're not the top of the food chain, and that everybody's just as capable as you are. That was probably one of the best things about Beast, having to learn.
All right, kid, man, you're free to go.
All right, thank you, sir.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, so this is the moment we've all been waiting for, right? How do you join the Long Gray Line? What do you have to do to be admitted into the academy? So if you haven't been paying attention up until now, this is where you need to tune in. Bring out your pen and paper. Prepare to copy. Just kidding. All of these are going to be saved on the Facebook admissions page, so you can go back and watch them later at your own convenience. So we'll go ahead and jump into this right now. What we're looking for is the whole candidate, right? So you have to demonstrate excellent academic ability, leadership potential, and just overall fitness. So these are the requirements for eligibility. You must be a U.S. citizen, must be between the ages of 17 and 23 on the day that you enroll, so before our day. Must not be married or legally responsible for any children. So note that doesn't say that you can't have children. That just says you can't be legally responsible for children. So there are plenty of ways to figure that situation out, depending on your family. And that's something that you can speak to an admission officer about to kind of brainstorm some ideas for you if this is something that you really want to do and you're passionate about. All right, step 2 admission. So step 1 is going to be to complete the candidate questionnaire, right? So beginning January 31st, you were able to go on to the westpoint.edu, click apply here, and fill out that candidate questionnaire. So you're going to need your social security number, obviously know your congressional district, have your high school information, and also share any of the information you have about any high school athletics that you participated in, any leadership activities or extracurricular activities that you have, and obviously provide, if you have that available, the PSAT, SAT, or the ACT test scores. I'll get into it a little later, but we're tracking that SAT no longer requires the essay, so that is no longer a requirement for admission. I know that's a frequently asked question that we get, a lot. All right, as I mentioned before, we're looking at the entire candidate, right? So just so you understand, this is probably one of the most important slides that I'm going to show you tonight. So in addition to the West Point application, you also must receive a nomination and you must be qualified medically. And those deadlines are going to be different. I'll get into that a little later on in the brief. But it's important to note for this slide that the application deadline for West Point is January 31st. All right, so 60% of your application is going to be comprised of your academic information. So we're going to be looking at your GPA, and we're going to be looking at that standardized test that you took. And we're going to be looking at 30% of your leadership potential, which is going to be covered in your school official evaluations, the interview, and the extracurricular activities. So school official evaluations, we require 4 for high school students. We require 1 from your math teacher. We require 1 from your physics or chemistry instructor. We require a PE SOE evaluation, and then 1 from your English instructor. So all 4 of those SOEs are required for your West Point application. If you have some college, you spent the semester in undergraduate, we're going to require 2 additional school official evaluations, and then those can be from instructors of your choosing, but ideally we'd like to see them from, math, English, or science professor. And 10% of your application is going to be comprised of the CFA, which is a 6-event test, a fitness assessment. As I mentioned, you're going to be challenged physically here at West Point, and the CFA is kind of our gauge to see, your physical aptitude. And so that test includes a ball throw, the crunch, the pull-up for males, and obviously the females have the option to do the flex arm hang, push-up event, the sprint, and then the last event is the 1 mile run. Sorry, I had a brain fart. All right, now the medical qualification piece. DOT-MERB. This process is near and dear to my heart, so I had to pause on that for a second. So the Department of Defense Medical Exam Review Board you must be medically qualified by April 15th. And so I'm going to do a double tap here, because as soon as you're eligible to start your medical process, please schedule your appointments, because this process is probably one of the more arduous processes that you're going to have to go through during your application cycle. And it's that way because there's a lot that goes into it. So starting early and getting after it is the best advice that I can give you at this point. And again, you must pass that full medical evaluation. And so how do you get to that, right? So once you apply to the academy, if you're applying for the class of 2026, in June timeframe, you should receive what's called the second step kit, which opens the rest of the West Point application for you after you completed the candidate questionnaire. Once you have access to the SSK, which is essentially your candidate portal, you log on to that, you scroll all the way to the bottom, and then it'll have a medical portion for you, a medical section, and then your nomination section after all of the West Point requirements. When you open it initially, there's some stoplights, next to each section, and they'll be red obviously until you submit the required information, and then it'll switch to either amber or green if you completed that appropriately. And as you're going through that process, it's really important for you to stay in touch with your admissions officer, because if there's an issue, they could do some on the spot corrections and making sure that you're keeping to your timetable and you're able to get after that medical qualification. But all these things are going to be happening simultaneously. So as I mentioned, it's important to start early and stay after it. All right, so acquiring a nomination. So there's two different types of nominations, right? There's service-connected nominations and then congressional nominations. So to be eligible for a service-connected nomination, you can be a child of a career military. You can receive or be the children of veterans who are 100% disabled or deceased. You can be actively serving in the armed forces, or you can receive an ROTC or JROTC nomination. Congressional nominations. Everyone's eligible for four, right? One from the vice president, two from your senators, and then one from your congressional district, your congressional representative. So I encourage you to apply for all four of those nominations because you want to increase your chances of receiving a nomination, and there's really no reason not to, right? So I'd much rather, I think of it as, this metaphor. You want to have as many fishing poles in the lake as you can, and hopefully you increase your chances of catching the fish being a nomination. That's probably a bad metaphor, but you get the point. All right, and so to locate your information, go to house.gov or senate.gov. It's also located on your candidate portal. Once you get that, you get to that stage in the process, that information can be found there as well. So let me stop for a second to see if we have any questions that haven't been answered already. Chris McDaniel says the cadet who is operating social media is doing a fantastic job. Nice. That's great to hear. I appreciate that feedback, Chris. Thank you. Our kid is currently a sophomore. Is there anything to do now besides work on GPA test scores? Hey, Karen, that's a great question. What I would advise you to do is continue to stay in the loop as things change at the academy and stay in touch. Continue to come to these events virtually and receive the most up-to-date information, but there's not much you can do at this stage as a sophomore. But just stay involved. I definitely, I guess I would advise them to continue to take challenging courses, making sure they're prioritizing their class load, making sure they're taking courses and receiving good grades. Anything they can do extracurricularly, as in, boys stay, girls stay, anything like that. Continue to focus on that, and then obviously work out and stay in good shape. Jenna says, my son was selected for SLE. Should we apply now or wait till after that? That's a great question, Jenna. If you're prepared, to make that commitment, I encourage you that when you receive or when your son receives his second step kit, to go ahead and start knocking out his application. Obviously SLE is designed to give you give you a taste of West Point, give your son a taste of West Point. And so after that experience, if he's dead set, he's decided this is the place for him, then, full speed ahead. And it's important for me to mention this here now, that SLE doesn't really weigh into our determination if you're going to be a competitive candidate or not. So what I mean when I say that is, whether you go to SLE or not isn't going to increase your chances of being accepted to the academy, just so you know. So I would actually advise, if you are 90 to 100% sure West Point is the school for you and this is where you want to come, I'd almost encourage you to look into another opportunity like Boys State or Girls State. If you're not sure that West Point is the place for you, but you want more information, then definitely I would advise SLE. All right, just scrolling through here, looking for questions. Ryan says, so you don't need to apply for nomination before January 31st? No, that's the application deadline. Each district is going to have its own deadline, so that's why it's important to visit those websites, those .gov, so that you can get the update application information and timeline for the nominations process. Eric asked, ACT with writing required? I know SAT is not. If you're able to take the ACT with writing, yes, we will consider that within your application, but it is not mandatory. Chris asked, do jobs which are work 30 to 40 hours or jobs which are work 40 hours a week equal to a sport? So Chris, there's no direct comparison for that, but what I will tell you is that we accept employee evaluations, that also weigh into your competitiveness of your files. So if because you worked that 30 to 40 hours a week, you weren't able to participate in the sport, that's definitely something we'll take into consideration, and we'll take a look at what your employer has to say about your work ethic and your potential. All right, I'll continue on the slides. All right, so application strategy, right? This is what we call in the Army the free chicken. So be proactive. I've kind of, I've mentioned that multiple times throughout this briefing. Definitely do that. Complete your application as early as possible so that we have enough time to consider all of the information that you've provided. As I mentioned, apply to every available nomination source that you have, whether that's a service-connected nomination or the congressional nomination. And make sure you're staying in shape and training for the CFA. So I know across the nation, right, COVID, we have the pandemic, and so we've been doing a lot of things virtually. And so maybe not have had that same level of involvement with high school sports, but that doesn't stop you from waking up a little earlier, going for a quick jog, quick run, putting up a YouTube, knocking out a quick, at-home workout or something like that. So there's really no excuse for you to not, train and remain in shape for the CFA. Definitely prepare and study for your standardized test, whether that's officially signing up for a test prep course or just taking, buying a book, doing some things on your own. It does nothing but help. Obviously, seek opportunities to demonstrate your leadership, and by way of participation in groups or any of those extracurriculars. You want to be your president of your class, yearbook editor, anything like that. One thing that I will mention about clubs is not the quantity of clubs that you're general members of, right? But we were looking for the quality of your membership and actually holding those leadership positions or those leadership roles within those specific clubs. And then also, your local field force volunteers. And so once you on their candidate portal, you have access, that information is made available to you. And so if there's something that occurs and you're not able to reach one of your admissions officers immediately, always leverage our field force. It's a group of volunteers that are associated with the academy that they might be old graduates, or they might have children that attended the academy, but in some form or fashion they've decided that they believe in the mission of West Point and they want to support the admissions office, and so they do that by serving as field force representatives. When I double down on the application deadline, so January 31st is a pretty hard fast deadline for your West Point application, and then the medical deadline is April 15th. All right, so before you apply, just a few questions that you can think through and ask yourself. And I think probably the most important one on here is, are you interested in a career as an Army officer, right? So as Cadet Hayes mentioned, after your 47-month experience here, you're going to go and serve on active duty as a second lieutenant. You're going to be in charge of soldiers. You're going to be a platoon leader. You're going to be out front. And is that something that you can see for yourself in your future? That's a very important question to ask, because that's what we do here at the academy. Is we produce leaders of character. We produce active duty Army officers for the United States Army. So that's an important question. Are you mentally tough? There's going to be a lot of challenges here that you face that not everyone will be prepared for. Obviously, there's resources available as you go through these tough times and you participate in these activities at the academy. So that's just something that to think about as you apply. And are you a leader? Right? Because that's what we do here. We want to develop you into a leader of character. And if you're not, then this is honestly, if that is something that you want for yourself, right? You want to develop your leadership skills, this is the perfect place to do it. All right, a little bit about SLE, just in case you're not tracking. What it is an opportunity for you to come and get a little experience, get more information about the academy. So fast-paced program, academic classes, military training, physical fitness, athletics, and it's a full week immersed in cadet life at West Point. So just to provide some updates on SLE, currently it's going to be virtual this cycle. We're looking at 4-day weeks, 4 to 6 hours a day. You'll still have opportunity for some military training, some physical fitness built in there. They've gotten really creative and innovative on the way that we're going to implement SLE this cycle. So if you received an offer and you've accepted, you're in for a treat. And if you haven't, definitely something, if you're not a junior and you're a sophomore and you're looking for, it's something you should consider attending in the future. And so the timelines for you to apply, January to March of your junior year is when you would apply to West Point, and then you're going to attend SLE the first or the second week in June. It's two separate sessions. All right, as always, stay connected. Obviously, you're following us on West Point, you're here, or you're following us on Facebook because you're here. Also, follow our YouTube and Instagram pages, and definitely visit our website for some of the frequently asked questions. There's usually there's a bunch of facts on there that have already been answered. So, and they update that webpage pretty regularly. So at this point, I'll go through and see if there were any additional questions asked that weren't already answered. Now Sylvia asks, when will SLE acceptance letter be sent? They're active. SLE acceptance or offer letters are actively going out each, throughout this week and next week. And so even if you're not accepted to West Point, you'll be notified within the next week or two of the decision. All right. Okay, well, this has been great. I hope I've been able to answer, all of your questions. If this has been informative and helpful to you, please give me a thumbs up. I'll stick around for another minute or so just to see if we get any additional questions in the chat. But if not, I'd just like to thank you for joining us tonight. It's been my pleasure to serve as your host. Our contact information is available on the West Point admissions page, so if you ever need to speak to me personally or anyone on the team, feel free to reach out at any time. We're here to help you through this process. So thanks again, and go Army, beat Navy.